Howie and Beastmode podcast, where we discuss all things business, including growth, strategy, and execution, as well as personal and professional development. Let's join Howie and Beastmode in conversation.
Well, hey Beastmode, it's so great to connect with you this week.
It's always great to connect with you, Howie. I'm out here in the park, and there's currently a surprise Camp Gladiator session going on, so I apologize for the audio, but I know that we have some great content going on to further our conversation on investing in you.
I love it. You know, last week was investing in your health, so it's kind of not a terrible tie-in, actually. Camp Gladiator, for people who don't know, I think it's available nationwide. It's certainly available in the South Central U.S., but it's been spreading. But essentially, it's kind of like parking lot workouts. So Beast Mode is outside right now, and they literally did a pop-up of Camp Gladiator, I guess, right there. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, definitely continue to invest in your health like we talked about last week or whatever week that was.
Yes,
and, last week. Yeah, so that's fun. But hey, I actually am really excited. This is Beast Mode's idea, but the second he said it, it just really resonated with me. So we've been on this series, Investing in You. This particular week is Investing in Your Team. It was his idea, and I really appreciated it a lot. So I think we have some neat thoughts about this process, and kind of like any of these topics, you know, we're going to get you kind of a starting place and kind of get you on the tracks and give you a few little thoughts. Our goal is usually about 2 ideas for you per podcast. We're hoping will spark for you, but then it's also for you to develop and think about as well. So investing in your team, obviously a great topic, Beast Mode. So I'm gonna let you kick it off. So what do you mean investing in your team?
So investing in your team, number one, this is our first bullet point if we're going to jot those down.
If you're taking notes, that's right.
Yes, if you're taking notes, yes, we appreciate your studiousness. But it's personal. And what we mean by that, or really what I mean by that when we were roundtabling that, is that it needs to be your decision. And that oftentimes, especially for who you are leading, if the decision for you to invest in your team comes from a corporate level or comes from above you, and the only reason why you're investing in the team is because somebody told you to, then it's not, number one, it's not authentic, and it can be sniffed out really quickly. And it just, the results aren't going to be there. And, you know, I know from myself and previous work experience, I worked at a job probably almost 8 or 10 years ago now. And that's what was happening. People were leaving left and right. And I mean, they were just trying to put out a fire, and you could tell. And, you know, hey, let's be buddies. Hey, let's figure this out. And it's like, you don't really want to figure this out. You just are trying to not go under. And it was very apparent. And, you know, the fire got stifled, quote unquote, for about 2 weeks. And then it started right back up again. And so,
sorry to hear that.
I'm no longer there. And it was part of the
proves
reason
the point. Literally
yes,
proves your point.
Part of the reason why I left was because of that. I mean, there was no authenticity. The transparency was there, but I mean, again, they weren't transparent in why they were doing it. But the effectiveness, to be effective in growing your team, to invest in your team, is, I got to say, you know what? It's going to come at a cost to me. It's going to come at, you know, maybe I got to come in a little early because some of my team members come in early. Maybe I got to stay late because some of my team members stay late. You know, maybe I got to invest by having lunch with a few guys, things I don't normally do. It's personal. I got to take my time, and it's going to cost extra. A lot of times this doesn't happen on your normal 9 to 5 or whatever you work. It's extra. And for it to be authentic and for it to have a result, it's got to be personal. You got to let them know, hey, I want to do this. And, you know, I want to grow. And if the company does, you said this, and I'm sure you're going to reiterate it. If the company doesn't get anything out of this, and if I don't get anything out of this, that's fine. But I want to make sure that you guys leave here better off than what you came.
Oh, wow. That's so good. Yeah, that feeds my soul. And that's a good sign, right? When it does, when something like that feeds your soul, it's a pretty good sign. So yeah, in the prep, we definitely talked a little bit about this, and the fact that it's personal. You know, if it is a corporate mandate that we're going to invest in our team, then, you know, that's fine. That means you probably have a fairly dialed in corporate, so that's okay. but it does have to be a decision. It has to be about you as well. So, when we were roundtabling, I said that I really don't care if corporate supports it or not, is that I want to invest in my team. Um, and so that takes a little bit of time and a little bit of energy for sure. But and here's what's actually interesting. I made the comment to you in our roundtable that I actually don't care if it works. I don't care if investing in people actually has an ROI or a bottom line calculatable benefit. And I really do mean that. And by the way, it doesn't mean I invest every day. I'm not perfect at it, but I do invest some. And I don't do it because it's a maneuver or because it's an ROI. I just do it because I want to do it, because I love people. And so if we can tap into our love for people and tap into some things that they're interested in and tap into what they're going through, I think that's a pretty good start for sure. And again, it's not like you have to do it every day. It's not like you have to, bring your team snacks every day. Okay. I have done some snacks before, but that's really, really periodic. I brought M&Ms or whatever, little fun things like that's great, but really it's about the human connection, and it's about investing in them a little bit, in some cases, I remember a guy whose family was financially in real trouble, and I gave him a little gift, and he's kind of a prideful guy. By the way, he's one of my best friends to this day. But he's kind of prideful, and he had a real hard time with that. It wasn't a lot of money, but it's a little bit to tide him over for whatever. I don't remember what the situation was. That was like 2009. But a very, very, very little thing, to do for them. So, that's kind of over the top. But usually it's asking how they're doing, right? I have right now I'm between jobs, but one of my former employees who was also laid off at the same time is pregnant, and so just checking on her. She's kind of a virtual team for me. Checking on her, offering, to pray for her, or one of the things I need to do for her is ask where she's registered, so that my wife and I can do a little small baby gift for them. So just little things like that make a really big difference. And what you'll find if you invest in your team is that you actually do have an ROI. Now remember, you don't lead with that, but you do have kind of an ROI because you have lower turnover, you have more engaged employees, and things of that nature. So I'm really excited. One of the companies that I'm interviewing with right now has a bit of a challenge. I can't say who it is, but they have you can see the company culture sometimes from Glassdoor. Their Glassdoor ranking is low, and they have some challenges in that area. I have a couple of ideas for how to invest personally in their employees and to create a little bit of a program around that too. So it would be a corporate mandate, but it's still personal. So anyway, a couple of thoughts from Howie's perspective.
Yeah, and just to kind of circle back on that, even if there is a corporate mandate, which again, like Howie said, doesn't mean that's a negative. It may be that the company's self-aware. Hey, we got to address something, and so hey guys, we got to get after this. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't mean that Vice President A and Vice President B address the issues the exact same way. That's not authentic. That comes across unsincere, and that's not truly investing. That's doing a job. And that kind of leads us into the next point. Is point number 2 is it's not about you. And it's not about you. Whoever the leader is, whoever the person is listening to this, that believes that they're able to speak into somebody, it's not about you. Whether you're a mentor to a mentee, on the side, it's not about you. So if they call you at midnight, that's what time that's good for them. It's not about you. And again, if your team, likes to go eat Asian food and you don't like Asian food, it's not about you. I'm investing in you. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to try something new, whatever it is. But the point is that when you invest in your team, it's personal. It's a personal choice. But then secondly, it's not about you, whatever it is.
I want to add to that. Sorry, you got me excited. So I just heard Jason, a viewer, say, and I made up his name, but I heard Jason say, "Well, I'm not a manager right now."
Yeah.
And again, how often, and Jason, if you haven't heard our podcast before, we always have a message for individual contributors. In this case, the message is act like a manager, and you invest in your team members, in your peers, and guess what? You're actually showing leadership. Now, listen, again, to Beastmode's point, they will smell it if you're just maneuvering, okay? But if you do invest in your team and your peers, it will actually help you. So I don't know if I've said this story on the podcast before. I think Beastmode might know it. But my very first manager job, I worked for a company that's now called McAfee. At the time was called Network Associates. And I was a sales rep, but I started sharing ideas and resources and different things with the team all the time. And with that, people started to understand that I had some ideas and I had some, whatever success, I don't know, whatever success I had. I don't want to say I had a ton of it, but some success. And I had a lot of ideas and I was sharing with them. So I was being unselfish. And what ended up happening is people started to come to me for ideas and thoughts and to solve problems as though I were a manager. They came to me more than their manager did. And so what happened was when the concept of having a team leader came about, I was the obvious choice to be a team leader for the East Coast, and then we had a different one on the West Coast because I had already been acting as that help. So it's not about me. I was just copying people on ideas and templates and sales tactics and different ideas, constantly though. And so a little bit of investment, a little bit of showing that I care and not being selfish with resources ended up, I literally self-identified myself for my first management job because the team leader position eventually became a manager position. And it got me to where I am today. Of course, it's a long road from then. But yeah, so I think, it's not about you is a really great point. And we don't want to hear Jason or Sally or somebody say, I'm not a manager because you're a leader.
Yeah, so true. I mean, if nothing else, let's just say, you know what, Jason, I'm not a manager. Quite frankly, I'm not a leader, and I don't really want to be a leader. But you know what? I'm aware enough with the team that I'd have an idea of what could drive us together. And voicing that idea just allows the benefit to come through. And so some of that is just that piggybacks off of our insights, feedback that we've talked about before. And again, maybe you don't want to be a supervisor, team lead, manager. You're just there to crunch numbers, and maybe you're number one and you just want to be number one. My brother's like that at his job. He doesn't want to be boss man, but he's number one all day long. And that's okay. But whenever you're able to do that, it just helps the team full circle. So
That's good.
Great example though on your part. I loved it.
Good. Awesome. Well, the next one is, getting very, very practical about the types of ways that we can invest in our team. So again, week 6, investing in your team. And it's basically tools, training, and tactics. So maybe I'll start off with that.
Yes.
So tools, to do people's jobs, it's not like you can throw software or throw, even hardware at every single problem and it goes away, because tools, frankly, in my experience, take quite a bit of integration and quite a bit of work. So you buy the tool and then, making that tool work across the team actually is a lot of work. But tools are a very central part of how we can be successful. So, just paying attention and observing how could the team do their job faster and better and easier, and maybe a little bit less manually. Those are all good signs for maybe there's a tool that they can utilize. From a training perspective, I feel like I didn't do the best job in my last company on training, but I was trying to do better in 2020. And so I was heading in the direction of doing more regular training. So every Monday I was trying to make it a training opportunity. But I will say that I did a lot of one-on-one coaching and working with my salespeople on deals and training them in practical ways. But still, I think there's a time for formal training and things of that nature. Now, in your company, it may be, advanced welding. It may be like something, metallurgical. It may be very important, and you have to send them to training, or you have to bring in specialized training. So that, that can vary a lot depending on our audience. But training is a great way to invest in your team. And then the last one, and I will kick it to you, is tactics. So really thinking about, and I talked in LinkedIn about this a few weeks ago, giving your team how software. And what I mean by how software is just process, sitting with them and doing intentional process work to say, hey, this is how we do X, Y, and Z today, but it feels slow and maybe, and it also feels painful. Maybe if I sat with a couple of team members, we could together figure out, we can shortcut a few steps, make it a little bit better. Hey, the customer's experience might even be better through that as well. That would be ideal. So tactics, so investing in tools, training, and tactics are really three good ones.
Yeah, and really, my mind switches totally different. You are much more involved in I mean, this is your point. So you're much more involved in tools, training, and tactics than I am. Not that I'm not involved in those, but like for me, the way I would address this type of thing is the same way that I would on a phone call, and that is the pain points. So I would go to my team, and actually we talked about it this similarly a few weeks back. But I would go to my team and I'd say, "Where's the pain point? I'm seeking this level of productivity. I'm seeking this from you. And okay, so what's the issue? Well, the issue is, this software does this. And, if it was this, then I could be done in half the time. Okay, well, I'm listening. Okay. Let me workshop some costs. That's me. Now, probably for me, again, that's not my forte. I'd pass that on to an operations guy or something who's going to handle that. But that's the route I would go when it comes to tools and tactics. I want to know your pain. Express your pain to me. Let me sit down. Let me actively listen. We talked about that a few weeks ago. Pay attention and truly feel your pain. Let you know that you're heard. That's investing in you. And then even if I come back and say, guys, hey, software is too expensive right now, but we will readdress it in 6 months. I guarantee you that investment, the time that I took, the time to say, hey, here's we're going to readdress it here. I guarantee you that comes back full circle. They may work a little harder. They may say, you know what, I can get 15 minutes faster on this or whatever it is.
And if you told me that in that way, and you literally said, you were the way you just said it was great. You were so transparent. You just said, we can't afford it right now, but let's look at it in 6 months. I so appreciate the heart and the confidence that you were able to share with me that there's a financial reason why we can't do it right now. So we're going to have to deal with our situation. Let's do a little bit of manual process. Maybe we can make it a little bit better with some process design, but I agree you need that tool. Can't do it right now. But you were honest as a manager with me. And so I have that piece that I can trust you because you didn't snap at me for asking. You actually looked into it and you just couldn't do it right now. So I think that's a great way of investing in me as a team member, is to be transparent and just truthful.
Yep. And again,
that.
When we talked about feedback and insights, we kind of touched on this point. Is in that example, it was my idea. I came to the team and I said, what's your pain? Let me hear it. Let me hear it so that I can address it, or that we can alleviate it, or that we can just have it on the table. If this pain is going to exist, and maybe it's going to sit here for 5 months until we're able to fix it, let's just have it out. Because now we'll be on the same team, about it. And that's where the big, it's not a trick, but that's where the insights, when you get helpful insights, you get helpful feedback, is whenever it's your idea. And then you're coming back and I'm coming back and I'm being transparent. Hey, I would love to do this. And quite frankly, we may be able to do this. And so, I did this with my team the other day. They were sharing some thoughts with me, and I just told them, hey, once we get one more sale, we'll do that. But until we get that sale, we cannot do this. And so now we're all on the same page. I'm frank with you. So if you were trying 75%, maybe now you kick it up to 90 so that you can get the sale, so you can get what you want. And maybe you just understand where I'm coming from right now. So
it's good. It's great. And then we talked a little bit about, in our roundtable, we talked a little bit about, I like the roundtable better than prep, so I'm picking that up.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. That's good.
I do too.
You just made that up. It was cool. But yeah, I think observation was kind of the next thing that we talked about. I had a really neat opportunity to sit with Quentin and with James in my last company, and I sat with them for 2 or 3 hours each. I don't remember exactly, but I really got to just sit there and observe. It's probably a little bit nerve-wracking for them to have their boss sitting next to them. So I understand that, but they also understood that my intention was to learn more about their job and to kind of be intentional about improving their jobs. And so I found out that James had this one process that he was taking on that was taking some time, and it was, I'm sure causing some fatigue for him. And it really, there's really other people that could handle that particular role. So I remember peeling that off of him and sparing him from that moving forward. I don't remember a specific thing with Quentin, but I just, in general, just sitting with them and helping, watching them navigate their jobs was really good observation for me. And I feel like that's a little bit of oxygen for them too, even though I admit there's a little bit of pressure when your boss is sitting with you. But there's a little bit of an oxygen effect where it's like, I'm heard, I'm seen, like I see you. One of the things that I know that when you're raising kids, that it's very important for them is to be heard and to be seen. So it's not too big of a leap to say that employees want to be seen and they want to be heard as well. So that observation process, I highly recommend it. Just sitting with your team a little bit, watching them do their work and seeing how you can help.
Yeah, and to me, the observation comes back to communication. And I know you have a great story about this, and you kind of touched on it by doing strength finders with your last team. And for me, I don't know if you planted a seed inside of me. And so the moment I saw this item, I knew I had to do it. And so my team is 100% remote. Most of them I'll never, ever see. Never. And it's not a stretch. It's probably the honest truth. And so one of the things that I wanted to make sure is, how can I express my appreciation to you? That's one of the biggest things I feel like in remote work, is that, then it just gets caught into that exchange. I'm giving a salary, you're giving me a certain amount of work, and we're just going to keep exchanging. And while that, to some extent, that is what it is, I don't want you looking for something else. I don't have the time to, I'm not there to come check in, to come do a pop-in, sit at your desk, like you're talking about. And so there's a great, there's a book actually that's spurred off of the love languages book. And it's actually the 5 languages of appreciation. And so wow. I asked each of my team members to do that, take some time. And I need to know what your top 2 appreciation languages are.
What are yours, by the way?
Let me tell you what they are.
Okay.
So the 5 languages are words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. So they're similar to the love languages, but it's really how you use them. And so for me, it's probably words of affirmation and physical touch. Maybe, probably somewhere around there.
Yeah. Me too.
But for my team, was words of affirmation and quality time. Every single quality time was on every single one.
Okay.
Every single one. And so I popped everybody on the phone or on a Zoom, and I said, guys, thank you for doing this. Now we came across a problem. How can I spend quality time with you when I'll never see you?
Right.
But I need your feedback. So honestly, tell me. And so one of the things that we started doing was a Monday kind of huddle, but there's no work. If somebody starts talking about work, I'll just either cut them off or just mute them, or whatever. Hey, we're not talking about work. We're going to talk about anything but work, because all we're going to do is just chat, get to know each other, spend time. It doesn't matter deadlines. It's okay. If I'm late, if you're late on something because of this, that's fine. Move it tomorrow, because I want to show you that this quality time is important and we don't miss it. And so
it's good. Well, we've got 2 minutes left, and I think communication that actually is almost a perfect segue into communication. Hopefully my camera is okay with this angle. Well, it's really not. Okay, I'll sit over here. How's that? Sorry, my sunshine I had it blocked, but if I was standing up, it blocks it, but not if I sit down. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, communication is really important because I've seen bad examples. I mean, I've had the bosses that literally go out of town and don't tell you they're on vacation. You'd be surprised how often I've had that. So because of that, I've learned from the opposite, and I'm always very communicative about my schedule. But communication is, expectations. Communication is some of what Beastmode said about appreciation. I think that is all part of communication. Communicating expectations. I actually did a good job in my last company in one area of communication, which is letting people know from a forecasting perspective where we were each week. I don't know if they read it all because it was kind of technical, but I gave them like literally the corporate level forecast. So yeah, I think, just strong communication is really appreciated by people. It's kind of an intangible, but it's really important. And you really note it when you get no communication. So that must mean that some communication is really appreciated by people. Again, kind of oxygen. So.
Yeah, I really agree. I mean, again, the communication is not about you. Whatever you're trying to find out or communicate, you're spending time with your team doing that. So, but I really love this topic. I'm grateful that you allowed us to extend Investing in You series to squeeze in investing in your team, just because I think all of us, whether we are right now in a leadership position, we all aspire to be, and there's no better time to learn than right now.
Well, I know that this comes from your heart, and I wouldn't have missed it. So I hope people were able to take some quick notes, or hopefully, again, our goal is just to have a couple things speak to you guys. So tell us where they can find us, because they may see us on YouTube, but we actually can be on your phone. We can be on other formats.
Yeah, we're on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts. Soon we'll be on Amazon Podcast that they're coming out with.
They're coming out with?
Yep, they're coming out with their own version. And so we actually got an invite to that, which I'm sure makes me feel special, but I'm sure everybody got an invite. But yes, we got invited to join that platform, so we will be doing that as well as on our social medias, Facebook and LinkedIn, and our personal networks as well. So
awesome. Well, share with somebody else. We appreciate it. It's nice to see people watching this thing or listening to it. So share it, and I hope it'll help you and somebody else.
Let's do it, guys.